Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I like to discuss the extent to which the Tory party now seems to think that Nadine Dorries is a little bit too hot to handle, and how Dorries is having to face up to the pressure from within her own party as well. Conservatives are now increasingly calling for Sunak to withdraw the whip due to the damage she's causing the party, but he's afraid, isn't he? But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel. So the Nadine Dorries scandal has gotten a little bit more interesting since I discussed it a few days ago. Conservative Home, which is a website for Conservative Party members, published an article a couple of days ago arguing that the House of Commons could and should simply expel the lingering member for Mid Bedfordshire. This is a sign that some in her party see her behaviour as very damaging to the party. Note how the main thrust of the argument is not simply urging Sunak to withdraw the party whip, as some are calling for, but for the wider parliamentary party to actually just expel her from the Commons. The author, Henry Hill, who's deputy editor of the site, may feel that removing the whip doesn't go far enough. It doesn't address the root cause of the problem, namely that the constituency has no representation and that the constituents feel that very keenly. And in a sign that Dorries may be feeling the heat from within her own party, she responded. She said that she is actually still working as an MP. Now, this is plainly ridiculous. She isn't doing anything in Westminster. As Adam Bienkov of Byline Times points out, she hasn't even submitted her second job earnings from her role on Talk TV or for the Daily Mail. She certainly hasn't been voting or speaking in Parliament. But it's also obvious that she's not doing any constituency caseload either. No surgeries. Locals are reportedly upset that they just don't feel that they have an MP, because they don't. So I'm not entirely sure on what grounds Dorries think she is doing any work as an MP. Maybe there are some people who live in Mid Bedfordshire who work in the offices of the Daily Mail or the studios of Talk TV. Who knows? 2 councils within her constituency have now called on her to make good on her promise to resign. There are, as I say, calls for her to lose the party whip, and now Conservative Home suggesting she should actually just be expelled from Parliament, and that MPs absolutely have the power to do this, to force the by-election on their terms, not hers. And now Dorries has responded. And what's interesting is that she said she'd resign over 2 months ago and has faced a fair amount of media interest since, and never once responded to it, just silence. Now she's responded. Responded with an obvious lie, but still responded. Now, why would she fail to respond for basically 10 weeks and then suddenly do so now? I think because the attention was mostly from political opponents in the media. She doesn't care about them. Whereas now maybe she's feeling the heat from those closer to her. It's clear that even Conservatives who approved of her in Johnson's government, for some reason, feel that she is now a liability. The question is, what will Sunak do about it? When asked about organising a motion to have her expelled, he said, well, this is a matter for Parliament, not the government. Now, yes, true enough, but he is not just the head of government, he's also the party leader. You know, but what is he saying? Is he saying that that means someone else needs to present the motion to Parliament? That he wouldn't tell his MPs how to react to it if someone did that? The motion would probably have to come from the Conservative backbenchers. I don't think Labour want to press the issue. Although Starmer has called on Sunak to take action, he's not going to do it himself. The longer this charade continues, the better for Labour and the worse for the Conservatives. In this Conservative Home piece, the author at one point suggests that actually Keir Starmer, who might do well in the by-election, could throw his weight behind an informal recall petition, not a formal one, of course, because that can't be issued, but maybe just carry out an informal petition in the area. And if it succeeds, that would give him the reason to table a motion to the Commons. I don't think so. Nadine Dorries is harming the reputation of the Conservative Party here. The longer it goes on, the weaker they look. Besides, Starmer will know that Dorries is trying to choose a time to resign, if she's going to resign at all, which will inflict maximum damage to Sunak and his government. She claims she just wants to know why she isn't in the House of Lords, but she knows why. She was told why. She's just stropping and trying to hurt Sunak out of spite. Why would Labour want to interrupt that? No, Starmer is happy to put the emphasis on Sunak to do something. He is the leader of the party of the wayward MP in question here. It's for him to deal with it. After all, there's an argument that political leaders should not lead calls for MPs of other parties to be expelled. After all, dangerous precedent. I mean, it's objectively justified here because she's not doing anything as an MP. But where's the bar? What would be to stop a politically motivated attempt to expel someone in the future? So all of the arguments point to Sunak being responsible for leadership here. And politically, Starmer is more than happy to point this out and show how Sunak is being weak for not doing so. Similarly, it's obvious that Sunak doesn't want to force the issue either, otherwise he would have done. The reason is less obvious in his case. This scandal helps Labour and it helps Starmer, but it harms Sunak and it harms the Tories. What if she never resigns? Like, if there were to be a by-election, the Tories, I suppose, will still probably win. Although it's very, very uncertain. But, you know, if the Tories do win, then they can have an MP who works to win over the population, say, look, we've moved on from the Nadine Dorries. I am here to work for you. They can really work hard and make themselves very visible in the constituency. And then at the general election, retain what actually should be a safe seat. But if there is no by-election, if Dorries never resigns, then it's not just the former culture secretary, but the Tory party as a whole who will have abandoned them for over a year. Now, current polling would suggest that come a general election, when it's not a by-election, we can get a protest vote, but in the general election where people are voting for the government, the Tories should still retain it. But if we never get that by-election, if people in Mid-Bedfordshire are without an MP, let's say we don't get the general election until autumn 2024. Mid-Bedfordshire will have been without an MP for over a year. Now, in those circumstances, it is possible that higher than expected dissatisfaction with the Conservatives, because even Conservative Home are saying Conservative MPs have the power to do something. They have the... Yes, she can't face a recall petition. She hasn't done anything for that. But MPs have the power to just say, you're not doing your job, get out. And those voters will see that. The Conservative, the active Conservative supporters will read that. And it means that the Tories could actually lose the seat at the general election just because of that local issue, you know, rather than just a protest vote against them in a by-election. The Tories are already on for a hammering in the general election. They cannot afford to casually throw away what should be a safe seat even under the current political circumstances. It's hugely in Sunak's interest to not only deal with this problem, but to do it on his terms, instead of passively allowing Dorries to dictate events. So why doesn't he act? Looks very much like he would have support within the party. Possibly he is afraid, maybe, of what Dorries will write about him in her Daily Mail column or say about him on Talk TV. If so, what does he fear? Simple bad-mouthing? Is that enough to scare him? Or does he fear that she may reveal some skullduggery? Whether true or not, she may just make it up. But it could still be damaging to his government if people believe it. Is she maintaining silence on a few matters at the moment for the sake of the party, which she might not do if the party turned on her? But the fact that she's now responded to the criticism after 10 weeks, to me, is a sign that she's rattled by something. She's felt the need to respond where she did not need to do so before. Can only be a growing feeling within the party that she is seen as the enemy rather than the jilted bride, so to speak. And the Conservative Party are ruthless, brutal even, when it comes to dealing with those they deem as harmful to their interests. And another point to consider, Nadine Dorries has a book coming out just before the Tory party conference. It's essentially a conspiracy theory piece attacking those she blames for bringing Boris Johnson down. It's coming out 2 or 3 days before the Tory party conference. Again, the idea inevitably will be lots of party members buy it, read it, go to the conference, not very happy with Rishi Sunak. I imagine that is the plan. Now, she may be worried that if she shits the bed with the wider Conservative Party, that sales may slump. After all, those are her main target customer. Who else is going to buy it? I don't know whether she actually intends to resign ever, or whether she intends to do it just at the moment of maximum damage to Sunak. You know, or as I say, hold on, draw a salary, do nothing, use Sunak as an excuse for it all. But if she thinks that her own reputation amongst that target audience for the book is suffering, she may have to change whatever plans she did have and resign sooner rather than later. I'm not sure I see her being expelled from the Commons. She hasn't committed a breach which would force a suspension. I think MPs will also recognise that it has happened in the past. It's not very often. it's a very, very serious thing to just expel an MP from the Commons like that without the public being involved. Normally the process is a suspension, then a recall petition, which at least has to be signed by members of the public. This would be just MPs getting rid of someone without the public consulted at all. Starmer has no interest in doing the Tories a favour by forcing the issue himself. Sunak is clearly shit scared of the consequences of getting involved, just as he was over the Johnson's Privileges Committee result and the subsequent reports on his allies attacking the committee. And I don't know if there are any backbench Tory MPs who want to stand up and try to present a motion themselves. I also don't know if the Speaker would permit it without a metric ton of signatures. And those signatures would essentially need to come from Tory MPs who right now are trying to appeal to Dorries to just go, but don't seem to want to do anything to force her. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.